The thermometer is rising and our viral videos are hot. Hey friends, it's Executive Director Kathleen Thompson. We're raising $60,000 to get to Election Day and we could use your help. The months leading up to an election are often the most difficult time for nonprofits to raise, as donors naturally focus on campaigns. We're in the peak of dry summer giving season and need patrons of progress to support the real free press. Your gift funds the peerless work like our THCBN video that hit 1 million views in 24 hours. Become a sustaining member or increase your gift before the 31st. When you join, you'll get exclusive perks for progress. Check out the link in show notes to buy back your media today.
I'm Brian Payne, and I have a company here in Dallas that does AI upgrades for traffic lights. I love Progress Texas because I love a lot of the coverage that y'all are able to get on social media. It's pretty impressive, and I support a lot of those initiatives. Definitely need more people to be educated about that kind of thing. Before I knew about Progress Texas, there's a lot of things that I didn't know about, so I'm happy to learn. Knowledge is power.
It's Wednesday, August 12, 2026, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch. Rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. We can't do what we do without your support. Huge thanks to Francesca Beaumont, Dolores Garcia, and Janet Gilmore for their ongoing sustaining partnership. While many of us have been focused on the election and its related polls and campaign events and unfolding strategy, a travesty of tragic proportions is underway in far west Texas, as federal contractors authorized by U.S. Customs and Border Protection have begun deploying heavy machinery in Big Bend National Park and surrounding West Texas lands to construct border barriers, patrol roads, and surveillance infrastructure under a $1.7 billion federal contract. Natasha Paloma at USA Today says conservation groups, including the Center for Biological Diversity and the National Parks Conservation Association, say that even now, this heavy equipment is tearing through sensitive habitats near Santa Elena Canyon, threatening wildlife corridors and local outdoor recreation. Local stakeholders, regional border sheriffs, political leaders, including senatorial nominee James Tallarico, El Paso Congresswoman Veronica Escobar, and Austin Congressman Lloyd Doggett, have all condemned the project as an unnecessary waste of taxpayer funds, pointing out that Big Bend accounts for roughly 2% of southwest border encounters and that the area's steep canyons and harsh desert already serve as a formidable natural deterrent. Fresh off caving to his opposition to Donald Trump's personal lawyer Todd Blanche taking the job of U.S. Attorney General, our outgoing senior Senator John Cornyn is piping up about the Big Bend issue too. Rachel Friesen at The Hill says Cornyn's been writing sternly worded letters, which are guaranteed to be fully ignored by the dear leader. This aggressive construction is being done in a fully mindless manner, proceeding with no heed to the irreplaceable historical sites in the region that it threatens. Rob D'Amico at the Big Bend Sentinel writes that near the remote village site of Porvenir, where 15 Mexican-American men and boys were extrajudicially murdered in 1918 by Texas Rangers and local vigilantes, contractors have been clear-cutting land without permission. Archaeologist David Keller and descendants of the Porvenir dead are in full outcry that the location remains both a live historical crime scene and a sacred Texas memorial. We were just singing the praises of longtime Progress Texas supporter, Dallas renters' rights attorney, and Big Bend defender Bill Holston yesterday, and it just so happens Bill's out with an op-ed in the Dallas Morning News reflecting on 40 years of his family visits to Big Bend, and through that lens conveying the profound ecological and economic stakes of this needless federal intrusion on sacred Texas ground. Bill reminds us that Trump's DHS has dispensed with 28 federal laws, including the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act and the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, to fast-track this unnecessary and destructive project. Bill stresses the money here as well, marring these pristine public lands, harming night sky preserves, and disrupting critical animal migration pathways, undermines a vital regional ecotourism industry in far west Texas that contributes $63 million to the state's economy every year. Bill's everywhere this morning. Teresa Woodward at WFAA in Dallas interviewed him on all of this, and in that piece, Bill elaborates on the absurdity of imposing rigid security infrastructure on a landscape that is itself defined by 1,500-foot natural rock canyon walls, noting that indifferent and distant decision-makers seem to lack firsthand knowledge of the terrain, and that concern over this defilement of Big Bend National Park spans political lines. Both of the major party nominees for Texas's 23rd congressional district seat, vacated by the disgraced Republican Tony Gonzalez, have voiced opposition to erecting barriers inside the national park. All of this fits neatly into a pattern of thoughtless top-down Republican policies repeatedly trampling the rights, heritage, autonomy, and economies of Texans, regardless of how they vote, by ignoring established laws, ignoring the impassioned pleas and warnings of the locals, including Republican border sheriffs, and unleashing this mechanized plunder across sacred historical grounds and public national treasures. Donald Trump is speaking to all Texans loud and clear. Fuck your feelings. Far West Texas is full of repeat and regular Trump voters. We hope that they, too, are experiencing that increasingly common feeling of buyer's remorse and that they will act accordingly this November. One other item to cover this morning, and it's a good example of how far the ethical standards Republican elected officials are expected to observe have sunk. For those wondering how Texas Attorney General and Republican senatorial nominee Ken Paxton, whose state job pays him somewhere around $150,000 per year, could possibly have amassed a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio over the last few years, well, our friend Lauren McGowie at the New York Times has figured out one possible way. Records reveal that Ken Paxton has been pulling in an income stream somewhere between $100,000 and $1 million roughly every 18 months from Premier Vertical Properties, which is a cell tower firm that Paxton co-founded in 2005 while serving on the board of Centennial Medical Center. The company secured a lucrative lease on hospital property for a T-Mobile cell tower listed in paperwork as Paxton MP. Ethics experts and industry analysts point out the distinct conflict of interest here. Hospital board approval was required for the lease, yet it remains unknown whether Ken Paxton recused himself or voted on the deal. Experts also expressed surprise that an unproven year-old firm could land such a prime location and note a glaring disconnect between the asset's reported value and its high payout rate. The cell tower arrangement adds to years upon years of ethical controversies surrounding Ken Paxton's personal finances, including a bribery investigation, a land deal inquiry, and, of course, a 2023 Texas House impeachment centered on accusations of abusing his office to benefit a wealthy donor. Perhaps most notably in light of these new findings, in 2015, Paxton was indicted on state felony securities fraud charges for failing to disclose commissions he received while soliciting investors for a tech startup. That case hung over his career for almost a decade until 2024, when special prosecutors agreed to drop the charges under a pretrial diversion deal. Paxton got off with 100 hours of community service, 15 hours of legal ethics training, and a $300,000 restitution bill. In any other universe, with this cell tower situation, Ken Paxton would be under severe ethical scrutiny regarding a potential multi-million-dollar case of self-dealing and glaring conflict of interest on the part of an elected official. But in this timeline, it's just another line item in a lengthy tally of corruption and grift, accepted by over half of Texas voters as simply the spoils of victory. Whole lot of live stuff going on this week. On Friday, we invite you to join Progress Texas and Civitech for a live podcast with Democratic state leaders during the final DNC meeting before the midterm. Civitech CEO Jeremy Smith, Progress Texas Executive Director Kathleen Thompson, South Carolina Democratic Party Chair Cristal Spain, and Texas Democratic Party Chair Kendall Scudder will gather to discuss how today's technology can be harnessed to expand voter participation for 2026 and beyond. We're in the peak of dry summer giving months for nonprofits, and we need patrons of Progress to support the real free press as we amplify affordability and save communities. If you're able, please sponsor our event on Friday. We're raising $60,000 to get to Election Day, and we could use your help. Sponsorships for Friday's event start at just $250. This free event happens on Friday, August 14th, 11:30 a.m. at Antone's Nightclub in downtown Austin, and is presented by Civitech with support from Charles Zeller, John Cotter, and Valerie DeBille. Building the electorate takes work, and we know you're in. We'll see you at Antone's this Friday morning. Our summer sustaining donor drive continues as well. A big shout out to new monthly supporter Linda Brender, who likes what she hears from Progress Texas and heard the call to join our ongoing efforts. Linda, you're the best, and we're proud to have you on the team. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Wednesday, August 12th, 2026. Links to all these original stories can be found in our show notes. Learn more about what we do and how you can get involved at progresstexas.org. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks so much for listening. Have a terrific day. We'll see you again right here tomorrow morning.